Matson celebrating 25 years of commitment to Guam, Micronesia, and the CNMI. Cars Plus, home of Guam's first and only lifetime powertrain warranty. Visit carsplusguam.com for details. McDonald's of Guam, I'm loving it, and King's Restaurant, serving your local breakfast, lunch, and dinner favorites for over 45 years.
Ahead on primetime, Guam Delegate Michael St. Nicholas is on island and is getting in as many meetings as possible before he departs over the weekend. Plus, lawmakers plan to file a brief in the Supreme Court as Governor Lulian Guerrero seeks a declaratory judgment relating to her powers to quarantine individuals during a public health emergency. And a ceremony is held for the Honorable Anita Sokola, who after 2 decades on the bench is retiring.
Hafid, good evening. I'm Adriana Cotero. Today, the Guam Medical and Public Health Services Action Plan Task Force was launched. A virtual meeting was held by Chairwoman GMH Administrator Lillian Posadas. The task force consists of the governor, members of the Guam Legislature, GMH Board of Trustees, and reps from health, finance, construction, and government sectors. The group's goal is to build a regional medical and public health center to bring our island's healthcare into the 21st century. Today's meeting focused on organizing activities, establishing subcommittees, and bringing the team up to speed on the work that has been done. Posadas discussed GMH's experiences during the pandemic's peak, including limited resources, such as storage space for safety equipment. Guam's only public hospital also had to suspend outpatient services and elective surgeries for a brief period, resulting in an estimated $10 million in financial losses. As reported, the governor has committed $300 million for a new hospital out of the $600+ million we are expected to receive from the American Rescue Plan. According to an Army Corps of Engineers assessment, a new hospital will cost roughly $743 million. Congressman Michael St. Nicholas is on island cramming in meetings before he has to head out on Sunday. We caught up with the congressman to talk about his plans while on island and recent controversy in the nation's capital regarding cookies he delivered to Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene.
So good to be home. The weather is so beautiful. The sky is so beautiful. I mean, it's like coming into a dream.
Happy to be home and happy to see the significant strides the island has made in vaccination efforts. Congressman Michael St. Nicholas says the recently announced 16-year-old threshold for the community to join the vaccination is a new milestone, and he is applauding Adelup.
I think the administration is doing a phenomenal job getting the vaccines out. We're doing better than most of the country, and that's going to be step number one for us to be able to get ourselves as open as quickly as possible, to be able to reassure our visitors that Guam is a safe destination. And so that's an awesome job on behalf of our governor so far. But they are rolling out vaccines across the country as well. They have larger population densities and a lot more logistical challenges, but based on what we've been able to do here on Guam and how we've been able to increase the age ranges, it's just phenomenal work all around from the administration all the way to the people of Guam.
Our delegate is hopeful we can continue this trend in order to maintain Guam as a safe destination for reopening tourism. He is also hopeful that as the time nears to start rolling out the $661 million in federal assistance, that everyone will have a seat at the table for deliberations.
I think that, with that large sum, it's important for our leaders to collaborate. Our local legislature, our local governor, and even our congressional office will be more than interested in sitting down at the table and really throwing ideas back and forth.
KUAM asked the congressman what he believes should be prioritized moving forward. As he explains, the focus should be on long-term results and outcomes for the people of Guam.
With the EITC also being resolved and with that $660 million also being available, we have some real transformative opportunities. I really think that we need to focus on making sure that the tax refunds that we've been behind on for so many years actually become something that we're able to pay out much, much faster. I think that's something we can absolutely achieve. And the governor's proposals for a new hospital is definitely shared by the community.
Another viewpoint the congressman believes is shared by the community is the understanding of his goodwill gesture to present Georgia Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene with Chamorro chip cookies while accompanied by the National Guam Guard. This gesture was in response to Greene's public mischaracterization of Guam as a foreign country undeserving of federal aid. As we've reported, Greene was not at her office at the time of the delivery, and she never responded to St. Nicholas. However, she did reach out to the Defense Secretary-in-Chief of the National Guard to complain about what she stated as a misuse of troops to ambush her office unannounced.
We are intentionally not seeking to continue to make that become a hot button issue. The people at Guam, I think, made it very, very clear what our intentions are, and they're all good intentions, and so we're hoping that the goodness of those intentions is what's going to shine through in the Congress, and so far that's what it's looking like right now.
The Guam legislature plans to file a brief in the Supreme Court as the governor seeks declaratory judgment relating to her powers to quarantine and isolate individuals during a public health emergency.
It was in December the governor petitioned the Supreme Court to issue a declaratory judgment.
She was originally asking, for a determination as to whether the courts couldn't, interfere with her quarantine powers under the Organic Act.
But last week, the governor took it a step further.
Now, in one of her reply briefs, she stated that the two sections of the health emergency law are inorganic.
In 2003, the Emergency Health Powers Act was signed into law by the governor at the time, Carl Gutierrez. The bill was authored by then Senator and also now a former governor, Eddie Baza-Calvo. According to Speaker Therese Terlahi, Governor Lulian Guerrero is now taking specific issue with two provisions in the local law.
And those are the isolation and quarantine sections, the sections that lay out all the details of how, you have a right to go to court, you have a right to, argue that you should be let out of quarantine.
As we've been reporting, there have been cases after cases heard in Superior Court challenging the order for all incoming travelers to be subject to quarantine in the government quarantine facility, with the majority of the court's rulings in favor of petitioners. In the governor's filing, she takes issue with the rulings and the court's ignoring of CDC guidelines in the application of quarantine, citing as examples CDC's endorsement of a 14-day quarantine and the power that local public health authorities have in determining and establishing quarantine options in their respective jurisdictions. According to Speaker Terlahi, the Supreme Court invited the legislature to provide a brief now that their powers have also been called into question.
The question is, does the legislature have a power to enact these laws regarding quarantine, or is it the governor's quarantine powers under the Organic Act, blanket, sole power?
According to the Organic Act, it states, quote, subject to the laws of Guam, the governor shall establish, maintain, and operate public health services in Guam, including hospitals, dispensaries, and quarantine stations at such places in Guam as may be necessary, and he shall promulgate quarantine and sanitary regulations for the protection of Guam against the importation and spread of disease.
On first glance, the Organic Act says subject to the laws of Guam. So, like with many things in healthcare and other parts of the government, while the governor has great powers, she is still subject to the laws of Guam. And so that's what this case is going to be about, is whether these statutes outlining the process are inorganic or not.
A status hearing before the Supreme Court on the governor's request for declaratory judgment is now scheduled for April 23rd.
Republican Senators Frank Blas Jr. and Tony Atta have introduced legislation that would restrict new hires that are non-essential and freezes all pay raises while Guam is in a state of emergency. While thousands remain furloughed or laid off and government coffers are expected to decline this fiscal year, Senator Atta comments the administration should be focused on prioritizing all government financial and human resources to fight this virus and get businesses open and people back to work. Senator Blas adds that we don't rebuild an economy by incurring non-essential expenses at a time our government is relying on handouts from the federal government to operate. Quote, we rebuild our economy, our community, and our island by being frugal and avoiding unnecessary expenses and hiring, unquote. With the moratorium on utility disconnections now lifted, GPA and GWA have announced that effective June 1st, they will start cutting off service for non-payment of bills. GPA General Manager John Beneventi briefed the Consolidated Commission on Utilities on the plan Tuesday night. He says some 3,400 customers, or 7%, are delinquent. The past due billings amount to about $5.4 million, with $4.6 million more than 30 days old. To help out customers, GPA will automatically enroll them in a plan that spreads out the payments.
Even if we say on June 1st we're going to collect $2,000, it's not going to happen. It's a plan for failure in our thoughts. So what we want to do is just take all of everyone's what they owe, divide it by 12, so then the next month's bill, they pay the current bill plus that 1/12, no? So that, And that gives you some good average numbers that I think could be affordable or at least manageable.
The utility companies also pledged to support local and federal programs that can provide assistance to ratepayers with their past due bills. The folks at GVB and GHRA continue their campaign to get those in the tourism industry vaccinated as we move towards our target date for reopening. Here's more from today's virtual tourism town hall.
The Guam Visitors Bureau, alongside the Guam Hotel and Restaurant Association, held a virtual town hall today to educate and answer some of the lingering questions surrounding the COVID-19 vaccines. As we inch closer and closer to the target date to reopen tourism, GHRA President Mary Rhodes addressed employers on the need to encourage vaccination amongst their staff.
It's extremely important so that we can help educate our tourism employees so that when we reopen for the tourism industry, we have a larger percentage of all of our employees vaccinated. It's extremely important from employer side to help reduce our downtime while at work, be able to get vaccines at the work sites should they become available, help reduce cost with absences or illnesses, and also possibly even any hospitalization. So it's really important that people get vaccinated and understand why it's important and the efficacy of it, so that we can really get our employees to feel better, be better educated and more engaged. Please go out and get your vaccines. We really want to keep all of our employees and your families safe, and as a community be able to stand up so that when we reopen tourism, we're all ready to go.
With the forum's panel consisting of the likes of AMC's Dr. Hoa Wen and Dr. Rob, as well as the island's Chief Medical Officer Dr. Felix Cabrera, members of the tourism industry had a chance to have some of their long-standing questions answered before they made the decision on whether or not to get vaccinated. One question in particular had our Chief Medical Officer jump at the opportunity to answer.
What if I get pregnant? Will this vaccine have any effect on my unborn child? I am nursing. So will this vaccine have any effect on that?
My wife and I had that, similar questions that we had to answer for ourselves overall. But first of all, when these studies were first done and these big trials, people got pregnant doing it during the trial. Everything about what we understand about the physiology and what these vaccines do tells us that, again, risk versus benefit. The complication of a pregnant woman with COVID is high. And as Dr. Rape said, flip that question on its head, what's the risk of having COVID versus the risk of getting the vaccine? And so it's a personal decision that a woman should make, and ideally in consultation with her doctor. Personal situation, my wife ended up getting the vaccine and she's breastfeeding right now. And we feel very safe. And in fact, we feel even more safe because now her antibodies are going to pass on to the breast milk to our son. And that's an extremely important benefit.
To catch the full town hall, be sure to visit the KUAM YouTube page. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Peter Santos.
On Monday, the VA-PPC approved the expansion of vaccine eligibility criteria to ages 16 and older. Guam's low CAR score and rising vaccination rates are prompting the Department of Education to come up with a plan on how to accommodate more students in the classroom. Tyler Matsunani has this week's progress report.
Last week, GDOE Superintendent John Fernandez mentioned the CDC was currently reviewing a Massachusetts study on social distancing and the difference in COVID mitigation. The CDC has since issued guidance over the past weekend to reduce the 6 feet social distancing requirement within the classroom to 3 feet.
And that really addresses, the heart of, our challenges in terms of returning kids to school. As I told you before, with 6 feet distancing in place, we can only get 40% of our kids back into the classroom at any one day, at any one time. So at 3 feet, we're getting much, much closer to, essentially the pre-COVID, levels.
Fernandez believes that based on the evidence reviewed by the CDC, if there is transmission within the classrooms, it's more likely happening from adult to adult and not from student to student or from student to adult.
I think what was our challenge was just trying to calculate the number of students for every classroom. If you're sitting at a desk in your class, what's the distancing requirement? And it's 3 feet now, which will really help us accelerate what I think everybody wants to see, more opportunities for in-person instruction.
The recent VAPPC approval to expand vaccination eligibility to ages 16 and older also supports GDOE's efforts to reopen.
A lot of 16, 17-year-olds showed up on day one to get their vaccines. We had a conversation with public health that if there's anything we can do to facilitate vaccinations for students who are interested but may have transportation issues, let's figure that out. But that'll help us, as part of our reopening strategies.
He affirms that it's not just about fitting people in the classroom, it's also about making sure they maintain a safe environment. Increasing the number of days students currently doing face-to-face instruction will be the first area of decision making. Fernandez says the board will be planning the readjustment over spring break and intends for those students to increase their time on campus a minimum of twice per week. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Tyler Matanani.
President Biden has approved a waiver for Guam of the 25% matching fund requirement for the Lost Wages Assistance Program. This will save GovGuam more than $11 million. The Guam Department of Labor has paid out nearly $35 million under the LWA, which provides unemployment claimants with an additional $300 per week for up to 6 weeks. GDOL launched the program in November, but said at the time that there was a risk that GovGuam might have to come up with the 25% match. In a news release, Governor Lou Leon Guerrero said, quote, "This approval is a testament to our strong partnerships with FEMA, the U.S. Department of Labor, and the Biden administration. And we will continue to work with our federal partners to ensure our island receives equitable assistance to strengthen our economy, build our infrastructure, help our people, and rebuild a stronger Guam." The Department of Revenue and Taxation is counting more and more on technology to help cut down on the perennial long lines. Speaking today at the Chamber of Commerce webinar, DRT Director Daphne Shimizu said they've had success so far with the available internet filing and plan to add more.
For the opportunity for people to apply for business licenses online, and so that's something that we're working on. Also, something that we're working on here that's part of our revenue tax services is looking at putting our driver's licenses and our Guam ID renewals online. So that's something that in this year as well we're going to be seeing. Our programmers are actually working on that now.
As an example of their success, Shimizu says the online filings for vehicle registrations has increased to 75%. The Republican Party of Guam is mourning the passing of its National Committee woman, Margaret McDonald Glover Metcalf. Metcalf was a businesswoman, wife, and mother affectionately known as Auntie Pudding. She also served as the director of the Washington Office of the Governor of Guam in former Governor Eddie Baza-Calvo's administration. A Republican Party of Guam release states in her time in Washington, D.C., she led many initiatives that improved the lives of all of Guam's people, but especially the most vulnerable, the veterans, the war survivors, the youth, and our precious Manamku. We extend our sincerest condolences to her husband, Chris, and their 2 sons and families. Our island lost a staunch fighter and advocate. She will be deeply missed. Guam Delegate Michael St. Nicholas also released a statement on Metcalf's passing. Quote, "As part of Family and Care About, my family and I wish to extend our prayers to the immediate family of Auntie Margaret McDonald Glover Metcalf, known throughout the island fondly as Pudding. May we always remember the light our departed have brought into the world and value always the time we have with our loved ones." Stick around for more news here on Primetime. You're watching KUAM.
Swim on in for Ruby Tuesday Seafood Sensations and enjoy your favorites from the sea in perfect time for Lent. Get hooked on lobster mac and cheese, the salmon loco moco, or the deep sea pasta. There's a bounty waiting for you on the RT Seafood Sensations menu at Ruby Tuesday Guam.
Social distancing may be the new norm, but connection will always be our tradition. Through good times and tough times, we remain connected with you. Masks may be the new fashion, but protection will always be our style. You can always count on us to protect the things that matter the most. Sanitizing may be the new routine, but caring will always be our practice. We care about your loved ones and the things you value the most. And as we welcome our new normal, one thing remains certain. We will always be here for you. We're open and ready to serve you. Calvo's Insurance, a legacy of trust.
Whether you use your truck for work or play, you can count on Ram trucks. Built to deliver today and built to deliver for many years to come. Here at Cars Plus, it is Ram Truck Month, where you can get the best deal on a new Ram 1500 starting at a new low price of $31,995. You can call us at 477-7807 or visit our website at carsplusguam.com to schedule your test drive today.
KUAM News, winner of the 2020 Regional Edward R. Murrow Award for Excellence in Social Media.
New details have emerged in a mass shooting that left 10 dead in Colorado, an incident that came less than a week after 8 people were fatally shot in Georgia. Dania Bacchus reports from Los Angeles.
Police have identified the victims of Monday's mass shooting at a Boulder, Colorado supermarket.
Our hearts go out to all the victims killed during this senseless act of violence.
3 were employees of the King Superstore. Another was among the initial first responders at the scene. Officer Eric Talley was an 11-year police veteran and the father of 7 children.
We can never thank Officer Talley or his family enough for their sacrifice, but we will not forget it.
Investigators also announced the name of the alleged gunman.
This suspect has been identified as Ahmad Alyssa, 21 of Arvada. He has been charged with 10 counts of murder in the first degree.
According to court documents, the 21-year-old bought an AR-556 pistol 6 days before the shootings. President Biden called on Congress to ban assault weapons and large-capacity magazines.
It was law for the longest time, and it brought down these mass killings. We should do it again.
The federal assault weapons ban expired in September 2004 after being on the books for a decade. Dania Bacchus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Legislation to stiffen the penalties for those caught stealing farm produce was moved to the voting file during legislative session today. The bill by Senator Clint Rigel clarifies that the theft of agriculture products is a crime. The measure includes language which states that if the thief is not able to pay restitution for the full value of the produce, they can pay it off through alternative community service. Rigel said he sponsored the bill at the request of local farmers who asked that the law be made much tougher. According to the bill, farmers who farm for both subsistence and commercial use currently have few mechanisms in place to seek damages and restitution when theft occurs. Many government issues making headlines recently involve a violation of government ethics. Executive Director of the Guam Ethics Commission, Jesse Kanga, says they're still working on getting all set up to tackle these issues. Here's more.
The Guam Ethics Commission continues to lay the foundation to become fully operational. Executive Director Jesse Kanga says last week's meeting focused on 2 major concerns, the first of them being the budget.
The Commission in 2020 was preparing their FY 2021 requests, and that was about $400,000, and that would provide for a full-time attorney, a full-time investigator, and then, of course, having the startup costs for equipment and building a really robust website. So after the discussions in the budget year and recognizing that the government wasn't in a good financial position, we ended up with less than half of what we were asking.
Kanga says they'll be asking for their original budget requests in the upcoming fiscal year in efforts to get the commission up and running.
Now that the commission is impaneled and they have a director, the goal is to go back to the legislature and articulate what would, that $400,000 mean in as far as service to the community. It doesn't take a lot for us to go and look around. I mean, it seems that almost every day there's an article, some issue that I think relates to ethic violations with government employees. And so now more than ever, we're ground zero. So if we re-emphasize that the funds are for startup, building a website, having that repository, then that would be funds best allocated.
According to Kanga, the cost to set up seems high, but it's more of an initial investment, as they would then operate at a lower budget once they've established their infrastructure, with a big part of that being a website where the public can submit and track ethics complaints and have access to a repository of information relative to government ethics. The latter half of the meeting tackled where the commission stands with their rule promulgation period.
Rule promulgation is a very public process for us to tell everyone in the community the commission will do business in this way, and allows us to hear from the community where are the areas that they think need to be included, maybe we've missed, or they'd like to clarify some of the proposed rules for, what complaints warrant a greater degree of review over others. So those are the types of things that we are expecting to go through, outlining that, coming up with their SOPs so that it is completely clear and transparent and everyone knows what the standards are.
For Guam's News Network, I'm Peter Santos.
Recognized as a trailblazer on Guam and in our justice system, the Honorable Anita Sokola was awarded with several certificates of appreciation this morning during a retirement ceremony held in District Court. After nearly 2 decades of serving the bench, Superior Court Judge Sokola is stepping down. Her outstanding career was highlighted in today's ceremony, recognizing her achievements having maintained a private law practice for 11 years, serving as a full-time assistant professor at the University of Guam, and in 2004, she was appointed as a designated judge for the District Court of Guam. She has since served as the longest designated judge for the District Court of Guam, having served for over 16 years.
There's more to come. This is just chapter 1. There are more chapters in life, okay? The next thing to do is to continue to enjoy, and I think I'll be back in the courtroom as a litigant. You never know. Definitely, hopefully stay at the University of Guam to continue to share in my experiences.
While on the bench, Judge Sokola was a major advocate for drug court, having a passion for saving drug defendants' lives as the island continues to struggle with the drug epidemic. She says in order to better address the challenge, there needs to be more education and treatment programs.
You know, we just need to have more education. Jails are not the answer. Treatment is the answer, and we just have to concentrate on the type of treatment that we're giving. And like I said, we're all God's children, and we need to do what we need to do to help each other to get healthier, to get better, so we can keep the family together.
Present this morning was Chief Judge Francis Tedinko Gatewood, Federal Magistrates Judge Michael Bordelio, Congressman Michael San Nicolas, Governor Lou Leon Guerrero, Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio, Speaker Therese Terlahi, Federal Public Defender John Gorman, the U.S. Attorney Office Chief Michael Swab, U.S. Marshal Fernando Sablan, and Guam Bar President Jackie Terlahi. All gave remarks honoring Judge Sokola and her service. Dave is up next with a look at local sports. Keep it here.
Your community calendar is brought to you by Taco Bell. Whether it's your first meal or your fourth meal, we've got you covered. Taco Bell, live Más.
We knew it was time to make these when we started asking things like, wouldn't it be nice to be able to get a warm cinnamon roll right now? And why can't this kind of muffin come from the same place as a McMuffin? And isn't your coffee lonely without company from a glazed apple fritter? Well, consider these our 3 resounding yeses. Meet the new bakery sweets at McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Mobile offers a new and convenient way to fuel your vehicle. Pay gas and go. No need to line up inside the store. Press preset. Enter whole dollar amount without decimals. Press loyalty ID and enter your mobile number or insert Smiles card. Insert and remove payment card or tap contactless credit card. Begin fueling. And don't forget to grab your receipt. Pay gas and go. It's that easy.
What's up, Guam? Dave Delgado here for KUAM Sports. Thanks for watching. On the show tonight, boys high school cross country from Ukadu, girls JV volleyball also from Ukadu, along with some tennis from the Guam National Tennis Center in Harmon. Check it out. Boys East League cross country over at Ukudu, GAA and the Bulldogs, both 4-1 heading into yesterday's meet. 6 runners from each team hit the course. Coach Dave Macaluso says that Ukudu placed second at the last All-Island meet, losing to St. Paul by 3 points. There are 4 juniors, 1 sophomore and a freshman on the team this season, so it's rebuilding time for Ukudu. The future is bright with the young prospects he has this season. GAA with a lot of size on the team, able to stay stride for the first half of the race. Angels runner Josh Helm turned it up during the last leg of the course to finish first overall at 20:57. Second was Samuel Jung at 21:06. Ukudu's Jadrian Huko came in third with a time of 21:08. Teammate Patrick Buat crossed the line fourth at 22:34. Bulldogs Jano Asuncion came in fifth respectively. GAA's Kana Scambaluri was 6th overall. GAA wins 24-33.
Since I'm a senior, I want to join like all the sports just because it's my last year. And also coronavirus, it limits everything that I can do. So I just wanted to do cross country and push myself. The hardest part of this course was probably the hill. Like there's a pretty big hill in this course. And my motivation was actually this interview because I wanted to be first and I wanted just to really push myself today.
Girls high school volleyball in the junior varsity division of the Easter League. The Ukudu Bulldogs had home court advantage against Guam Adventist Academy. Bulldogs looking for their first win of the season against the 4-3 Angels. Big thank you to GAA Athletic Director Gina O for helping out with the results. It was the visiting Angels squad who walked away winners in straight sets, 25-21, 25-11. GAA will take to the court tomorrow against the Islanders at 5:30 at JFK. Turning over to some tennis news, the 49th Chamorro Open Tennis Tournament drew 66 entries for singles competition to kick off the tournament. Skilled doubles will take place this weekend at the Guam National Tennis Center in Harmon, March 26th through the 28th, starting with 2.0 through 9.0 skilled players. Over 60 matches are scheduled for this weekend. Anyone interested in joining future competitions can contact Tournament Director Michelle Peng at 971-0082 or email Michelle at gntf.org. Remember to pack some snacks, hydrate, and bring sunblock.
That was great that we were able to start playing. Thank you to GNTF. Without tennis, a lot of us fell down. Being back on the court and being able to play that great Chamorro Open is a blessing. You can see everywhere that everybody's wearing their masks, taking their precaution. And one of the best things is that through the pandemic, a lot of kids had no sports to play and tried tennis. And we see the younger generation coming up and being better and better, and that's a great thing for the sport. We have a good generation coming up.
Before we go, I want to say happy birthday to Logan, who turned 7 years old today. That's it for sports. We're back right after this.
We get it. Living to the fullest is tough during COVID-19. You don't need to do it alone, and everyone needs a hand right now. We are here. Feeling overwhelmed? Call 647-8833 and let's talk. Mangagihem is a project of Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center.
The Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce presents Fanatsu Famalawan, Women Rising, on Thursday, April 8th. This virtual conference will reach you wherever you are, featuring international experts and thought leaders sharing their stories. Experience on-demand sessions, masterclasses, and conversations to inspire and empower. Register today. Fanatsu Famalawan, Inspiring Innovation, April 8th at GuamWomen'sChamber.com. Special thanks to our change agents and our other community partners.
Guam is truly a majestic place with its sheer natural beauty, wealth of beaches, and culturally rich landscape. Unfortunately, Guam has a real problem with unwanted invasive species. Help us in preventing their introduction and spread. The coconut rhinoceros beetle, the little fire ant, the African snail, Siam weed. These are just a few of the numerous invasives on Guam. Follow proper custom procedures when bringing plants and animals into Guam.
Help protect Guam. Tell your family and friends about invasive species.
To report invasive species, call 475-PEST.
We don't want to overhype the return of the quesalupa from Taco Bell, so we're skipping all the fanfare.
Oh, man.
We'll just tell you, the quesalupa's cheese stuffed shell is back, and we think you'll like it.
And before we close out the news tonight, our latest round of birthday shout-outs from the Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club.
It is the third day of the work week, but number one day of the week if your birthday is today on March 24th. So, happy birthday to Keanu Sage, who has 3 birthday candles to blow out today. Keanu, we are wishing you many more wonderful years to come, says your family, who loves you and they're very, very proud of you. Also, happy birthday to Joey Gogui, to our rock, to the head of our family, our protector, and our support. May God bless you today and forever. Your family says they love you. Both of those really good shout outs. Great job for the families that sent these in. So to Keanu and Joey, we wish the both of you a happy Wednesday and a happy birthday.
Remember, you can be part of the Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club by registering online on KUAM.com. That's going to do it for us here on Prime Time. Thank you for watching. Have a good night and be safe.
In Full Zoom is presented to you by Calvo Enterprises, Inc.
Afternoon, everyone.